All right, it's your boy Chuck Johnson, a.k.a. Kid Thunder. I haven't done a single. This is the first video of 2024, unless if you might have counted that YouTube short that I've done, where I was, playing this synthesizer. But I'm just going to go on the record and say this right here. Today is January 20th, 2024. And the question I got to ask is, are you better off on a lot of aspects? Are you better off morally? Are you better off financially? And are we as a country better off, like, economically? And in my humble opinion, I do feel that we are not better off on any of these aspects. On the financial aspect, the question I got to ask is, how much are you paying at the pump when you fuel up your car? How much are you paying for things like groceries and other goods and services? How much are you paying for, the cost of living? Like, if you have a mortgage, or if you're paying rent to a, and another thing I want to ask is, how much are you paying in taxes? Now, don't take it as if I'm, creating a sales pitch right here, because I am not, because I just want to, and don't take it as if, I'm asking you personally, because all of these questions right here are just rhetorical. I mean, because here's the thing, because if you're a sane human being like myself, and you pretty much know how you voted for, because since January 20th of 2021, we all know Joe Biden's presidency has been an utter disaster. Unless if you happen to be a low information voter that obviously would vote, call yourself voting blue no matter who, and you're only doing all of this out of ignorance. You don't want to do your research on whom you're voting for. But that's another rant. And then, like, another thing I want to ask is, are you really trying to, prepare? Well, another thing I want to ask is this: what about in regards to, the more, the moral values that we are trying to come across? How are we as a nation doing morally? Because nowadays we are. I see a moral decline in the nation, especially now where you got our government trying to tell us how to live, and then you got these progressive lefties out there that wants to push this pronoun nonsense, and wants to tell everybody, of what preferred pronouns we should use and all that kind of stuff. especially when it comes to putting it on our our application bios and all kinds of stuff. You know, in my humble opinion, that's a red flag. I mean, it discredits you for whom you actually are. You know, why not just be someone who actually happens to have to be called by the gender you were actually born with? Now, yeah, there are only two genders, male and female, and I mean, according to the Bible, according to Genesis chapter 1, yes, God created male and female. In other words, God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Now, I know YouTube is going to flag this video for me making that statement because, you know, most of YouTube is like run by a bunch. Well, let's just say they're going to flag this video because I am a guy that doesn't stick to their values. And then let's look. I want to predict this right here. You know, given that we are in a presidential year, 2024. Okay, and this is how I particularly would see it. In my humble opinion, I do feel that we might have a Trump-Biden rematch like we did. And the way how I see it is this. You know, I'm going to make this prediction right here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make a couple of predictions. The first prediction I will go by is this. You know, if we have a Trump versus Biden rematch, which very likely it might be, despite all these nonsensical allegations that are being pushed and shoved against Trump, you know, because, you know, and now they want to, you know, have all these, you know, these civil and or criminal cases that they want to, you know, have against them, which, in my humble opinion, I think 9 times out of 10, all of those cases are going to be dismissed, if not already. But I digress. I do feel that this rematch of a presidential election, you know, my first prediction is that because of our current outlook and because of our current our current standings on very economically and morally, I do feel that Trump might win this election in 2024. But I also feel this right here. I predict that I also may predict that when it comes to Trump's VP pick, you know, because I did hear Vivek Ramaswamy had dropped out of the primaries, and even despite that he dropped out of the primaries, he ended up endorsing Trump. So I have a feeling that Vivek Ramaswamy, might end up becoming Trump's VP pick. This is just opinion. This is just a prediction. And I ask you guys to please take all of that with a grain of salt. The second prediction I have for the 2024 presidential election race, regarding if there's a Trump versus Biden rematch, I do feel that the Democrats are probably going to play extremely dirty like they did in 2020. You know, of course, in 2020, yeah, they pushed this mail-in voting nonsense, which we all know that was going to be the biggest the biggest issue right there, given that was beyond unconstitutional to begin with. And and we see how that turned out. Now, I will say this, in my humble opinion, the 2020 presidential election was indeed a stolen election. And the real reason being is because, hey, and the problem is nobody wants to investigate that. Yet they're pushing tons of investigations on Trump. And they're doing all that for no reason at all. Now, but I digress. And then, so this year alone, there's plenty of things that you gotta be concerned about of who you vote for. And and here's the thing. Okay, we got crime has shot up through the roof. That's number one. We got endless we're in two endless wars. One with the Ukraine and Russia, and two with Israel and Hamas. And three, we have moral decline where people want to talk about what pronouns to use. 4, many of us are just scraping by in order to survive, because the cost of goods and services have shot up through the roof. Now, if you're an informed voter like I am, you already know who your vote will go to. But if you're if you only look at all these issues right here and still vote for the same particular individual in office, then I don't know what's up with you. I mean, you have blatantly voted. You would blatantly vote out of ignorance. And I'm talking exclusively to that particular crowd who wants to follow the vote blue no matter who statement. I mean, and the thing is that with that particular crowd, you don't bother holding your elected officials accountable. Now, yes, I will say this. When Trump was president, I've held him accountable. I mean, yeah, I've been a Trump supporter. And I'm still kind of am a Trump supporter. But even as a Trump supporter, I had to call him out on some things. I had to hold him accountable on some things. I'm not just let me just go on the record and say this. I'm not a cheerleader of any politician. Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, Trump, Biden, you name it, whatever. But all in all I'm just saying is this. If you value your of what of how things matter right now, um, you should be seeing how things are, how our country's outlook is on all of this. You know, you know, this goes all the way to the curriculum they teach in our education system. This goes to like your, how much we are spending on goods and services, to what's going on down in the border, to, you know, what's going on, over at in the Ukraine, and over in, and we're messing with, Hamas. You know, this is a lot of stuff that we need to sink in this year alone when it comes to the upcoming presidential election in 2020, in November 2024. Now, I'm just saying all of this. I'm not telling you how to vote. I'm not telling you how to vote. But when we got a litany of issues that's been going on since Biden took over 3 years ago, then we literally need to we literally need to check this out. Otherwise, there's no viable way we should put our faith in our elected officials. That's all I'm saying right there. I am Chuck Johnson, a.k.a. Kid Thunder. I'm signing off. You guys have a wonderful day.